Welcome to a very special episode of Two Bald Guys, where today we'll be getting an insider perspective on the upcoming elections. My name is Eric Giordano, and I am the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Institute for Public Policy and Service, also known as WIPS, and I'm pleased to welcome my colleague, Dave Anderson. Take it away, Dave.
Well, greetings, Eric, and greetings to our viewers out there. I am Dave Anderson. I'm a Senior Policy Fellow at WIPS. For those who might not be familiar with WIPS, we're a unit of the University of Wisconsin system founded in 2007 with a mission to educate and engage citizens, develop future leaders, and bring the resources of the university to address community-identified needs.
Dave, because we're focusing on the upcoming elections in our show today, I thought it might be helpful to remind everyone within reflective distance of our massive planetary-sized noggins that they should vote if they are eligible to do so in the upcoming election on Tuesday, November 3rd, and if they have not yet done so already. And so we at WIPS are firm proponents of the idea of healthy civic participation, regardless of political affiliation. And on that point, Dave, I thought it might be appropriate to share a couple of the core values that we hold at WIPS related to political activity, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah, actually, Eric, it'd be my pleasure to do that. And really, regardless of our own political beliefs, as an organization, WIPS is strictly nonpartisan. At WIPS, we don't subscribe as an organization to any political party, nor to any political agenda. Another one of WIPS' core values is civility. In this really frenzied election season, we encourage all of us to be civil to one another as we talk about politics and as we cast our votes. So be active, vote, and be civil to one another. That's really the message, Eric, that we have here at WIPS to the general public.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. And thank you for sharing that, Dave. And we hope to model that kind of civility on our show today. I mean, I'm not sure if our viewers truly appreciate the restraint and willpower it takes to be civil after hearing one of your really bad jokes, Dave. Hey, but speaking of jokes, I have one for you, Dave. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So I was talking with your wife, June, the other day, and she told me something about you that really surprised me. She told me that you used to have wavy hair. Apparently, it was waving goodbye.
Well, so much for what I just said about civility, Eric. But Eric, actually, your story reminds me something that my daughter from Arizona recently said on a visit home when she was here. She saw a picture hanging on the wall, and she asked my wife, June, Mom, who's the guy with the wavy hair in this old picture that's hanging on the wall? And June, my wife, said, why, that's your dad. To which my daughter responded, then who's the old guy, the old bald guy you're living with right now?
That's good.
Well, if that joke didn't make our two viewers happy, I know something will, Eric. And that's the fact that they can become friends of WIPS.
Yeah, I that's right. And who doesn't want to become a friend of WIPS? And can you explain what that means, Dave, to be a friend of WIPS?
Well, of course. We have the new Friends of WIPS campaign. Our viewers may not be aware, but we're largely a self-sustaining organization. All of our programs are funded by generous donations from individuals and organizations. So we're excited to announce a new program to help ensure that WIPS programs can continue indefinitely through our Friends of WIPS campaign. For an annual gift of $75, you can become a friend of WIPS, and for an annual contribution of $250 as well. And there's some really terrific benefits and gifts for friends and patrons of WIPS. And actually, one of them is right here, my embossed WIPS portfolio for note-taking. I use it all the time. And the other item that I have is our very handy WIPS thermos that can be used for hot and cold items. So anybody who wants to become a friend of WIPS can do that and receive one of those great items.
Yeah, thanks, David. Who knew that friendship could be bought for a low price of $75? Anyway, our viewers can visit our website right now at wips.org, WIPPS.org, and click on the donate button, and that will take you right to the right place to join as a friend. And so thank you, all of you, for your support for WIPS. Speaking of thanks, Dave, we really need to thank our producer, Luke Rudolph, who week in and week out is with us behind the scenes, making the show happen. So we wanted to welcome in Luke and just say, thanks, Luke. We appreciate what you do.
Well, it's really great to be here, gentlemen, especially since you are paying me. But I did come up with another joke for you. Are you ready?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Where do people in Antarctica get their haircut? At the barber shop. Get it? Get it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I get it. I just want to know, Dave, what have we done here? We should never have given Luke a microphone. That's obvious. And I'm just wondering in general, what were we thinking giving a young person a voice? I mean, who should be, why are we giving young people a voice in this country? Anyway, it's like a horrible science experiment gone wrong. But any thoughts on that, Dave?
Well, I think, Eric, before we encourage any more bad humor out there, I think we should change gears and really get into today's program. And with that, it's really a pleasure for me to introduce the Secretary of the Democratic National Committee, otherwise known as the DNC, who lives right here in Wisconsin, Jason Ray. Jason, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You know, we're going to jump right into our discussion here, and but to get us started, Jason, tell us a little bit about the DNC and your role there. What do you do for the DNC?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I serve as the secretary of the Democratic National Committee, one of the 9 nationally elected officers of the party. And in this role as secretary, really responsible for working and engaging with our 447 DNC members across the country, working when it comes to the National Convention around certifying all of our convention participants, but really working to promote what the DNC is doing and really kind of help explain to people about who we are. Prior to getting elected to the DNC, I actually served as one of Wisconsin's 4 elected committee members when I was first elected back in 2004 at 17 and reelected a few times since then before getting elected in February of 2017 to this role as secretary.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jason. I love that picture of you as a 17-year-old. I still see that occasionally. What an incredible journey you've had. I want to get right to the politics and the election here, the campaign election, I should say. And Jason, Joe Biden seems to be leading in every national poll, but some Democrats I talked to are worried because this time last year, Hillary Clinton was leading in the polls, and she subsequently lost to President Trump. So we're wondering, in your mind, will this year be any different? And if so, why?
Well, I think there's a couple things that'll be different. And first, I don't subscribe to the polar coaster, as we like to call it, and believing in what's going on in all the polls. I think the race is a lot tighter than we think out there. But I think we as the DNC have really done some tremendous work in the last few years to really rebuild the infrastructure of our party to put us in a position where we can win not only here in Wisconsin, but across the country this November. And it starts with when Chairman Perez got elected, I got elected at the same time, and we really started reinvesting in our state parties. We started making sure that we were investing more in our data infrastructure, that we ran a campaign around every zip code mattering and really saying that we can't just show up a month before an election and hope to talk to voters, that we need to build true year-round operations. So I think that the infrastructure that we have been able to build as a party has really positioned us well. It was that infrastructure that we needed so that no matter who came out of our party's primary this summer, that we were able to instantly give them an infrastructure that could help propel them towards victory in November. And I think that's one of the things that is different than 2016 is we understand the infrastructure that's needed. We've worked hard to build that over the last several years. And I think people have been plugging into that. So I'm really optimistic for what's going to happen next week.
So as you look at the electoral map, Jason, it seems like there's a number of potential roads for Joe Biden to receive that necessary and magic 270 electoral votes for victory. What do you think are some of the key states that we should be paying attention to on election night? And what do you think is actually going to decide the election? What does it come down to?
Well, I think, Wisconsin is obviously a battleground state. I think it's the reason we've got the vice president coming here, the former vice president coming here today to Milwaukee. It's why you have President Trump coming again for, I don't even know what number visit this is, but I think Wisconsin is a battleground state and will be one of the deciding factors. I think, frankly, the entire upper Midwest is Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. The 3 states that Hillary Clinton lost in 2016 are places that we're investing heavily in now. It's the same places you're seeing both tickets traveling to in these last few days of this campaign. But I'm really excited actually about the expanded map that we're putting on the table. While we could simply focus on just the 3 states we lost in 2016 and saying, let's win those and it's over, we've really made an effort to say, how do we expand where we're playing? How do we engage voters who may not have been with us before? How do we expand that electoral map? So we're seeing great opportunities, in Texas, in Georgia, in the Nebraska 2nd Congressional District, in the Maine 2nd Congressional District. So we're seeing a way to get beyond 270. But, frankly, there's lots of paths to get there. And we know that as a party, it wasn't just one, let's go to Wisconsin and that'll flip it, but really to open up as many opportunities as we could across the board to help get us over that 270 mark.
Thanks, Jason. We're going to turn now to the Senate side of the campaigns and elections. And, there's a lot of eyes on the Senate races across the United States. So the question is, do you see Democrats winning enough of these U.S. Senate races to recapture the Senate? And if so, or either way, which races do you think you'll be watching and should we be watching?
Yeah, I think, it's going to be a close election in a lot of these Senate races. But I really remain optimistic. I've seen our candidates on the Democratic side really put forward such a phenomenal campaign and organizing vehicle that's really propelling them. I look at places like South Carolina. South Carolina probably wasn't a targeted race at the beginning with Jamie Harrison against Lindsey Graham. I know it's a favorite for us Democrats because we love Jamie and he's great, but to raise $57 million in one quarter was unprecedented. And that is giving Jamie the resources that he needs to give Lindsey Graham a real fight for their money. But I'm really seeing opportunities across the board, whether it's in Iowa with Teresa Greenfeld, whether it's in Montana with Steve Bullock, Arizona with Mark Kelly, Maine with Sarah Gideon. I know I'm going to get in trouble for leaving people off the list, but I think there are a lot of opportunities that heading into 2020, I don't know that we as a party thought we could retake the Senate. And I think you look at both the federal level and I think also on a state level with it, there are opportunities that this cycle have opened up that weren't there before. And I'm optimistic. I think a lot of these races, though, are close. And I think it's going to come down to what happens in these next few days. It's why both parties are out there actively campaigning, certainly campaigning in a different way than we have before in the middle of a global pandemic, but out there trying to turn out their base, but also trying to turn out undecideds and independents and really build a strong infrastructure and game that will help propel Democrats to victory and take back the U.S. Senate next week.
So let's turn our attention a little bit to what's going on right here in Wisconsin. And many people argue that it's really going to be almost impossible for the Democrats to make serious gains in our own state assembly and state senate because of redistricting as a result of the last census. What's your view of the likely outcome of the legislative races here in the state?
I think a lot of us thought that the redistricting had put us at a disadvantage and that we wouldn't have an opportunity. But I'm seeing Democrats being extremely competitive in seats across the state, raising a lot of money to help put seats in play and engage voters. And particularly I'm looking at suburban Milwaukee districts right now, and a lot of districts that were just with Trump in 2016 that we made a little bit of ground with in 2018, but really seeing an opportunity to pick up seats in the metro Milwaukee area as one of our biggest areas of gains. I live in the 24th Assembly District and that was a tier 2 seat to begin with. And Emily Segrest, who's the Democratic candidate, is doing really well. I think I saw one report that almost $1 million in digital and broadcast and cable ads have been spent on what was at the start of the cycle considered kind of a tier 2 assembly seat. So I think what we're really seeing is a lot of momentum for change right now. I think people are looking for real leadership and are looking for a different vision. I think it starts on the top with the presidential, and I think that is really helping carry through to state senate and state assembly races. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for pickup in Wisconsin. It's going to be tight. I mean, they drew districts that did not favor Democrats, but I think we're going to make serious advantages in the assembly and potentially in the Senate that will help make sure that we can keep pushing our agenda forward. But again, I think a lot of these races are close, though. I'm not going to go on, and say that we're going to win it all. But I think we're going to make advances. But again, it's all going to depend on in these next, 4 days or so, how we continue to organize. But I've been out there on the doing a lit drop for a candidate down in the southern half of Milwaukee County, and got great feedback from folks that I was down there. Saw lots of momentum. Have done some phone banking for candidates, and really hearing great things from folks who are just excited and are looking for something different. They want people to get to work. They want people who are going to go to Madison each and every day to fight for them. And I think we've got a number of candidates who are positioned well to do that and have been building the infrastructure to move them towards victory.
Thanks, Jason. I want to turn our attention to actual election eve. And, already the country is we're shattering records with absentee voting, early voting in ways that we've never seen before. And maybe because of that, there's a lot of concern that we won't know the results by the eve of the election or the next day, or maybe even the next day after that. And so do you have any concerns? Does the Democratic Party have any concerns about the process of counting votes and really knowing who the winner is going to be in a timely way?
Well, I want to start by just thanking all of the municipal clerks and all the poll workers who are giving of their time to do this and help ensuring a safe, smooth process for our voters. And, at the end of the day, it's not which candidate comes on stage on Tuesday night and declares himself the winner. It's who the election officials certify as the winner. So I think, we as a party are going to ensure that every vote is counted. Our poll workers and municipal officials are working hard around the state to do that. Whether that, is at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night or later into the day, I'm going to wait for election officials to declare a winner and make sure that every vote is counted. But I'm not concerned at all about what that may look like. And just really thank those who are out there doing the work. I was visiting a couple of polling places in Milwaukee yesterday, some of the early vote sites, and there was such great enthusiasm. Just a thanks to all those poll workers who are out there making sure that we can shatter these record numbers of early vote turnouts, that people can show up and safely cast their vote on election day. That I'm not concerned at all about what may happen on Tuesday night when it comes to reporting.
So let's take out that crystal ball a little bit. And if Democrats are able to secure a presidential victory and win control of both houses of Congress, do you think we're going to see a moment of healing, or is it going to be a Democratic version of what Mitch McConnell's favorite saying is "election have consequences"? How do you see that playing out in your crystal ball?
If I had to predict, I'd really say that it will be a moment of healing. I think it will be a real bipartisan moment. I think there will be a real effort from a Biden administration to bring people together again. It's something that he's talked about from the start. And, that is what I think is helping win over voters right now in this race, is they don't like the division that they see in this country. They want to come together. They want people who are going to work collectively on behalf of issues that matter, to get the economy moving, to end the global pandemic. And I think we're really going to see, the Senate, the House, and the executive branch really come together, bring in people, bring in independents, conservatives. I think it'll be a very diverse cabinet, but people who are going to get to work to find common sense solutions that will help everyday Americans, will help move our country forward. And that's something that Joe Biden has talked about from the beginning. And that's something that I really do feel can happen with this administration, that it really is an opportunity for us to bring the country together in a way that we haven't in a number of years.
Thanks, Jason. As a final question, we have at least two loyal viewers that we know of, but we don't know if they vote or not. So what message might you have for our undecided voters about why they should vote for the Democratic ticket?
I think that's a great question. I would say it's a ticket that's ready to get to work. It's a ticket that wants to fight each and every day to make sure that Americans are thought about, are protected, are cared for. It's really about restoring the soul of our country. It's about leadership, and there's so much more that we could get into with it. But I think it's about a return to decency and leadership in this country. And I encourage undecideds to give us a shot. Let us have that opportunity to really move our country forward, end this pandemic, and restore the soul of our country.
Well, Jason, we really appreciate you being a guest on our show today, and we want to wish you the best in the in the days ahead. We know it's going to be a hectic time for you, but thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Take care.
And now, Eric, we're actually, excuse me, we're actually making some Two Bald Guys history today by having our first ever return guest. I'm very pleased to introduce our second guest. And so please join me in welcoming Tom Schreibel. Tom is not only a longtime Republican strategist and the GOP National Committeeman from Wisconsin, but he's a longtime friend of mine. And it's always a pleasure to see Tom. And thanks for being here, Tom, to help make some Two Bald Guys history with us today. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys again, Dave and Eric. And I guess since I'm the first return customer to your show, I just got to lead off with what do you call lice that live in Dave and Eric's head?
Uh-oh.
Homeless.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What do you call lice that live in Dave and Eric's head? Homeless.
Oh, I didn't catch the punchline. My gosh, thanks so much. Who invited Tom back on?
Yeah, right. He was my first choice. I'm just saying. Anyway, Tom, remind us to start us off here. Remind us a little bit about your various roles with the Republican Party over the years. A little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. Worked for Congressman Sensenbrenner for 28 years. Was his chief of staff for about 12 years. Shared employee on the House Judiciary Committee, the Select Committee on Energy Independence and Global Warming. Then after I left working for Congressman Sensenbrenner, I was the representative to the RPW as the 5th District Vice Chair. And now I'm currently the National Committeeman to Wisconsin to the RNC.
Great. Long history there, and it's almost an end of an era, right? With Congressman Sensenbrenner retiring here, but wow, incredible.
Sure is. Sure is.
Tom, we were asking Jason about this. So Joe Biden seems to be leading in every national poll, but as we mentioned, Hillary Clinton was leading at this time last year as well, 4 years ago rather, and then lost to President Trump. So the question is, can President Trump pull this one out again, rather?
I think that very definitely President Trump can pull this out in Wisconsin and across the country. Polling is become a more honed science as technology continues to grow. People aren't, landlines, what are landlines anymore? And so people are getting polled on their cell phone. Just with the political climate we have today, what are pollsters being told? And so there has to be, polling is getting more and more difficult as time goes on, and those numbers are getting more and more suspect as time goes on. But at the end of the day, a number's a number, and it goes to ground game. And you can talk about polls all you want, but it goes down to ground game and what the Republicans have put out there. Republicans believe in retail politics, getting out there. Wisconsin voters for years and years have appreciated retail politics, going back to Bill Proxmire and others, moving forward to Tommy Thompson, Jim Sensenbrenner, and people want to talk about the issues of the day. People want to talk about the candidates, and that's what the Republicans have done. We haven't been hiding in basements. We've been out there knocking on doors.
So, Tom, as you look at the electoral map, again, there's any number of potential roads to that necessary 270 electoral votes for victory. What are the key states that you're going to be paying attention to on election night, and what do you think is going to actually decide this presidential election when it comes right down to it?
I agree with Jason. I think that it's going to be a tight race, not only in Wisconsin but across the country. I think you start out with Florida, work your way up to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then come into Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then Arizona. And I think Jason and I agree on what the pathway is for victory for the president or victory for Vice President Biden. And that's why there's so much attention being paid to Wisconsin. And President Trump's in town today, and he had just announced he's going to be returning to Wisconsin on Monday down in Kenosha. So we're not a flyover state. We haven't been for quite some time. Our votes do matter.
Yeah, thanks. And that is one thing that's exciting about living in Wisconsin. I mean, we really are at the epicenter. So let's turn a little bit to the U.S. Senate. We know that there's a lot of races that seem to be in play for the Democrats. However, nothing is guaranteed here. And so we'd like you to comment on which Senate races that you'll be watching. And do you think ultimately that the Republicans can maintain hold of the U.S. Senate?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that the Republicans will maintain control of the U.S. Senate. You look at Tom Tillis's race. His numbers are looking pretty good right now. You go down to Iowa and Joni Ernst. My son lives in Iowa. The airwaves are being blasted with the ads down there. But again, you look at how Joni Ernst is campaigning. She's one of the best retail politicians that I've ever seen. She's out on the stump day in, day out from sun up past sundown. So I feel confident that we're going to maintain the Senate. Then you look at Arizona, and that's quite a race down there. But I think we have a really good shot at continuing to win Arizona.
So let's bring things a little bit closer to home here in Wisconsin. Do you think Republican control of the state assembly and state senate is pretty much assured? And are there some key races across the state that we need to be paying attention to at the legislative level?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing with Speaker Voss and the leadership in the assembly, and with Majority Leader Fitzgerald, and Scott's running for Congress as well, but still keeping very close tabs on the state senate races. I don't see a pathway for the Democrats to get control of the assembly. Do we have some tight races? We sure do. You look at the ring around Milwaukee. You look at Dan Canodly. You look at Alberta Darling. You keep on looping around Rob Hutton, and then keep on going south in the southern suburbs of Milwaukee. They're tough races, no doubt about it. But again, it goes to ground game. We're out there knocking on doors and talking to people. And the Democrats just started like 2 weeks ago knocking on doors. So I think that we have a great plan in place. I think Speaker Voss has a great plan in place, and Fitz. So it's all about retail politics in Wisconsin and getting out there and talking to people. And that's what we've been doing for months and months and months now.
Thanks, Tom.
So, no, I mean, it's retail politics.
Tom, I was reading something this morning that in Texas, they have more people who have voted absentee now or early than voted in the entire election 4 years ago. I mean, it's incredible. But all of this early voting and absentee voting are really stacking up the number of votes and the ways in which votes need to be counted. So there's some concern that we won't know the results on election night, or maybe even the next day or two. Are you concerned about this at all? Or what's your take on the whole process of deciding who won the election?
I'm hopeful here in Wisconsin. The municipalities have invested in the infrastructure. You look at the city of Milwaukee investing in high-speed counting machines that, hopefully we'll know the results in Wisconsin by anywhere between 4 and 6 a.m. the next day. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are voting early. I voted early. But also, I think we're going to have the highest turnout ever that we've ever seen before in any type of presidential election. And also, many Republicans are waiting to go vote on actual election day. They want to take that ballot and slide it in the machine and hear that little beep that's been accepted. So I think it's going to be a fun night to watch. And as a creature of political history, I think we're definitely making political history here on so many different levels, with both parties reacting to COVID and how to deal with it, and then running through the whole cycle here. It's just fascinating, and I think I talked about it the last time I was on your show. It was a privilege, by the way, and it's a privilege to be back. But how COVID is potentially going to change the way in which we look at elections here on out.
Tom, but you do know we're not paying you for any of these comments, right?
the time that we're in has been really a politically divisive time as you look at the history of our country. We talked a little bit to our former guest about this, but whether Republicans or Democrats secure a presidential victory, do you think we're going to see a moment of national healing, or are we going to see this kind of division that's kind of marked politics in recent years continue? What are your thoughts?
I sure hope so, Dave. You and I came up at a different time of politics. I remember when I first started, Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House, and, Tip O'Neill and President Reagan had a great relationship. It's time to go back and look at bipartisanship in a true way to, get things done for the people. What you're seeing right now, you just look at the package 4 of COVID relief and, Speaker Pelosi holding it hostage to the Senate and the administration. We got to get together and be able to move things forward for the people. And, we saw that, early on in mid of our careers, and you just don't see that anymore.
Thanks, Tom. Tom, as a final question for you, we kind of joke about having 2 loyal viewers, one of whom might be an undecided voter. And assuming that we do have one undecided voter, what might be your message to that person? Like, what is the message you'd like them to get about how they should vote and why?
Yeah, I think President Trump and the candidates down ballot from Senate to your assembly seats on the Republican side have great things to offer. Do we want to take a step back with Vice President Biden to increase taxes? Do we want to take a step back with Vice President Biden and look at the new Green Deal? He says he's not for the Green New Deal, but yet he's for the new Green Deal. It's in their platform. So do we want to take a step back? President Trump has accomplished a lot of things while being president for 4 years. You look at the recalculation of the NAFTA, which now became USMCA. The list of accomplishments go on and on for this president. He has gotten things done. He has tried to drain the swamp in Washington. Do we want to take a step back? Joe Biden's been in politics a long, long time. What has he accomplished? Look at the accomplishments at the end of the day, and that should decide your vote.
Well, Tom, we want to thank you again for being our first return guest, and we really enjoyed the time we spent with you here this morning. And again, excuse me, we wish you the best as you continue on to Election Day next Tuesday. So thanks a lot for being here.
No, thanks for having me, and good luck buying your friends at $75 a piece.
There you go.
Thanks.
Well,
guys.
Eric, I can't believe how quickly this time flies when we have such compelling guests. It's kind of like your toupee in a windstorm. It just flies. I can't believe it. You're on mute, Eric.
Thanks, Dave. Good one. Good one. I appreciate it. And by the way, because time has flown, we unfortunately have to offer sincere apologies again to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But rest assured, my friend, we will make time for you next week. So stay tuned.
Wait a minute, Eric. Did you forget that we're taking the next 2 weeks off to prepare for the Toward One Wisconsin conference that's taking place on November 11th to the 13th? So there won't be a Two Bald Guys episode next week.
Oh, you mean the completely virtual Toward One Wisconsin conference with incredible national and state speakers and presenters for which there is still time to register at t1w.org? Is it that conference, Dave?
Yes, Eric, that's precisely the conference that I'm talking about, which our viewers can still register for. And because we will be busy getting ready for that conference, we decided to take a couple of weeks off. But rest assured, we're going to be back on Friday, November 20th for a special Thanksgiving episode of Two Bald Guys.
In that case, Dave and Mr. The Rock, we look forward to seeing you again on November 20th for another great episode of Two Bald Guys. See you then.